2021 has really been a big year for digital banks in Asia. I mean, I think you mentioned Kakao Bank, had its IPO in August, and it's since then, we've had lockup expiries and whatever, but it has continued to be the largest market bank in Korea by market cap, and its market share in Korea is only 1% or so. So, and the profit level, of course, is relatively small compared to the legacy banks. So really to have maintained the largest market cap, bigger than Shinhan, bigger than KB, I think, maybe it was a surprise to some observers, and I think it shows the potential certainly for Kakao Bank. And then, but it's not just Korea. We've seen a lot of movements, and this is what's in the report that, I published with other colleagues at Morningstar who cover Asian banks across the Asian region for digital banks. For example, in Indonesia, they're the fourth largest bank by market cap as Bank Jago. That was just a very tiny bank until recently. It has basically been taken over by an investor group to turn it digitally. So, and we've seen many countries that have been issuing licenses and where there's a lot of movement. So the report really goes in country by country to, where are their potential, where are their threats to the legacy banks, and, basically what can we expect going forward.
Right. Let's talk about that in a bit more detail. Why are we starting to see this proliferation? Is it because people are shifting to doing everything online, e-commerce? So why should banking essentially be any different? There's new technology which makes it safer. There are new players out there which are disrupting the way that the banking model works in a number of these countries. And there's also penetration, I guess, into some markets, because you were talking about the large potential when it comes to Indonesia and the Philippines, and we know that the Indonesian population, there's a large portion of that that's unbanked as well. Are all of these factors the reason behind the growth that we're seeing?
Yes, I mean, one of the questions, I guess, could be like, why now? We've had, I'm in Japan, and in Japan we've had digital banks for 20 years now, and they've been steadily growing. It's nothing new. I mean, we've had the transition from PC to smartphone. And I think in the report, we go into kind of why is this taking off now? And some of that, I think actually the biggest catalyst was that in many countries, the bank regulators were quite reluctant to give licenses to challenger banks. For fear of, financial stability. I mean, sometimes you have interest groups like, say bank labor unions, that sort of thing. And I think really a big change happened in 2014. And that's when China, for the first time, licensed some private sector banks in China. And among those was WeBank and MyBank. So basically the banks, supported by Alibaba and Tencent. And after that happened, then we saw Korea, kind of go and say, well, okay, we can license Kakao Bank and K Bank, which is a competitor for Kakao Bank. So I think that was one catalyst for a lot of countries. And so that's why we've seen, it takes, several years to move from, applications for licenses to granting of licenses to actually launch of services. And I think that's the point where we are now, where most countries have licensed challengers, and where the virtual banks are in the process of launching services or have launched, and we start to see the growth phase.